Hello and welcome. Have you ever wondered how to describe injuries in English naturally? In this video, you'll learn the most important vocabulary and expressions with examples that make it easy to remember and use. So let's dive in.
Cut. The word cut as a noun means an injury or wound. For example, she washed the cut on her hand after slicing tomatoes.
Scratch. Scratch is a cut or scrape on skin. For example, the cat left a scratch on his arm when he tried to pick it up. Burn. Burn is a wound or damage to the skin caused by heat, fire, electricity, radiation, or chemicals. For example, she treated the burn on her hand with cold water.
Bruise. A bruise is a mark where the skin is darker in color, often as a result of being hit by something. For example, dark bruises appeared on Mark's knees after he slipped on the pavement. Frostbite. A frostbite is an injury caused by cold.
For example, exposure to sub-zero temperatures puts the homeless population at risk of frostbite.
Blister. A blister is a swelling filled with fluid. For example, I got a blister on my foot after walking all day in new shoes.
Splinter. A splinter is a sliver of wood. For example, John got a splinter in his finger while he was doing woodwork. Stitch. A stitch is a loop of thread used by doctors to close a cut or wound. For example, the nurse removed the stitches from his wound after a week.
Bite. A bite is an injury where a person, an animal, or an insect has bitten you. For example, he had a dog bite on his leg.
Nosebleed. Nosebleed means bleeding from the nose. For example, the doctor explained that frequent nosebleeds can be caused by dry air or allergies.
Bump. A bump is a lump or sore on the skin. For example, the child cried after getting a bump on her head while playing.
Concussion. A concussion is a mild traumatic brain injury caused by a blow or jolt to the head or body, leading to temporary changes in brain function. For example, after the accident, his concussion left him dizzy and confused.
Whiplash. Whiplash is a neck injury. For example, the doctor diagnosed him with whiplash and recommended rest and physiotherapy.
Fracture. A fracture is a break or crack in a bone. For example, she suffered 2 fractures in the accident.
Sprain. Sprain means to cause an injury to a joint by a sudden movement. For example, A severe sprain may take weeks to heal.
Dislocation. A dislocation happens when the ends of bones that normally meet at a joint are knocked or pushed out of place. For example, he suffered a dislocation of the shoulder after falling.
Amputation. Amputation is the surgical removal of a limb, such as an arm or leg. For example, the patient recovered well after the amputation surgery.
Stiffness. Stiffness means inflexibility. For example, morning stiffness is a common symptom of rheumatoid arthritis.
Numbness. Numbness is the loss of physical sensation. For example, he spent so long scrolling on his phone while sitting on the toilet that the numbness in his legs made him wonder if he'd need a rescue team to stand up.
Cramp. A cramp is a muscle contraction. For example, Anne got cramp in her calf muscles while she was running.
Puncture. A puncture is a tiny wound or hole made by a sharp tool or object. For example, the puncture was small but deep, requiring careful cleaning to prevent infection.
Infection. An infection is when tiny germs get inside your body and make you feel sick. For example, after falling and scraping her knee, she got a small infection because germs went inside the cut. Back strain. Back strain is a muscle or tendon injury in the back caused by overstretching or tearing. For example, he developed a back strain after lifting a heavy box without bending his knees. Scab. A scab is a natural cover made by dried blood that protects a healing wound. For example, doctors advise not to remove the scab too early because it helps the wound heal.
Sunburn. Sunburns are skin burns caused by the sun. For example, she got a painful sunburn after spending the whole day at the beach without sunscreen.
Swelling. Swelling is a part of the body that becomes larger than normal due to inflammation, fluid retention, or trauma. For example, patients with rheumatoid arthritis often experience joint stiffness and swelling. Rash. A rash is skin irritation or abnormal change, often red and itchy. For example, she developed a rash on her arms after touching poison ivy.